Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now today I wanted to talk to you quite openly about what it's like being a 55-year-old man, right? What it is like, the harsh realities that come with being in your mid-50s. And I agree, it is quite a difficult challenge, but I also want to remind people that there are many positive things and good reasons to smile when you get to this age, which nobody really wants to be in their mid-50s. It's kind of an age when you're younger looking upwards. You think, well, I can't see much fun in getting to that point. But let me tell you, when you've been on this road for a while, you realise that as you go around a corner, there's definitely going to be a hole in the road, a pothole, which is designed there to throw you off. Occasionally you'll go around a blind corner and you will come across a magnificent view of the world, which makes you realise that the journey up to this point has been worth every inch that you've had to carve to get there. Because by this stage of life, we've collected a few victories on the path. And we've also absorbed our fair share of failures, I can tell you, a few defeats. And we are showing the lines of that journey on our face. Many of us no longer have the hair that we had when we started out on this path. And it can be very tempting, I think, when you get to your mid-50s, to start to come to the mindset that this is the beginning of a gentle slope downhill, that all of your best things are behind you. Let me tell you, that is far from the truth. There is much to look forward to, whilst also accepting that the life that we've led is more behind us than there is ahead of us. But we've got some things at this stage in life that younger men, with their lack of the experience that we have, can't hope of accessing in their daily lives. And that's something we often take for granted. So today, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why being 55 is not a barrel of laughs. There are harsh realities to this age, but I'm going to round up with 3 reasons why being 55 can also be a positive age to be, and the springboard to better things in the future. Now, one of the harshest realities of being a mid-50s guy is that subtle erosion which is happening and speeding up actually at this age of our physical capabilities. Because the fact is, even though we are active and we are fit, and there are many of you out there who are working hard to maintain your physical fitness, and you will say, I have never been fitter than I am today, or I have, got to a certain age and I've reinvented myself as a fit and able guy. And you might be running marathons, you might be running triathlons, but the utter reality is you are never going to be the man that you were in your 30s. The simple realities of the aging human body mean that your peak physicality is long since behind you. There's a reason why there are no professional athletes, other than in sports like darts and snooker and golf, who last into their 50s, because your physical prime is behind you. And you know this, because when maybe you go out for a run, or you go to the gym, you go for your personal best in a bench press, you are going to hurt for days after that, because in the past, your body was very quick to recover after an injury. Now, it takes an awful lot longer. And it becomes ever more apparent if you enjoy going out with your friends. All right, you go out for a Friday night, you take on more alcohol than you would normally do so. When you were younger, you would skip off to work the next day. You might have a bit of a thick head, but that will be it. Now, you're carrying a 2-day hangover, maybe even 3 days, where you will feel the effects of your Friday night boozing session even on Monday morning. You'll have that sluggish lethargy, which is left through effectively poisoning your body with alcohol. And, these are things which get harder and take longer to get over as we get older. And for many of us guys, reaching our mid-50s is when many of the metrics of health start to present themselves to us. So things like high blood pressure, high cholesterol. I know a number of people my age who've already suffered with significant heart problems, blood sugar issues, people who have diabetes. I know people my age who now have been diagnosed with diabetes, at later onset. Largely because of lifestyle choice, largely because of genetics, but these things start to become apparent. As we are at this age, you start to get to know your family doctor better than you've ever done at any stage of your life before. And this is a crushing reality. And you then start to think about other things that run through the family that you never considered. You know, I have annual screening for prostate cancer because my father had prostate cancer, has prostate cancer. So you start to think about, you know, the life which lies ahead, not so much so when you were younger, when you didn't have to worry about it. But what I'm not saying is that you are past it when you're in your mid-50s. No, not at all. What I'm saying is that you have to have more respect for your body than you did when you were a younger man, when you lived life as if it was going to be fabulous forever. Now, there's a reality, and you have to have more respect for your body. And that can be a harsh reality in your mid-50s. Another harsh reality that comes at this age of life is really the shifting social landscape that we no longer have accessible to us because, you know, as we get older, by the time you reach 55, life has a way of thinning out the social herd which used to be around you. Right? People will have moved away. People will have gone on to different things in life. People, frankly, will have died. You know, those who used to be very close to you, your parents, your older generation, they're likely gone by the time you're 55. And you are now a much smaller, at the heart of a much smaller group of people. I mean, even who used to be your close personal friends, those people, right? You used to go out with them spontaneously for a drink on Friday evening after work. Today, if you wanted to go out with those same people on a Friday night, it would involve 2 months of planning, probably a shared Google Calendar so that everybody could get their ducks in a line so that they could go out for one night for a spontaneous drink or two. And you can guarantee whoever turned up, 1 or 2 of them would have to go home early because little Johnny needs collecting from scouts or their wife is having their hair done. And all of that spontaneity, which used to be something you took for granted when you were younger, has now disappeared. And men in our 50s can find ourselves becoming increasingly lonely. Not because that we've lost perhaps many of those friends, but the depth and frequency of the connection that we have with those who used to be most closest to us have long since gone away as people have taken different paths in their lives. And it's easy to get into autopilot mode, where you just get used to spending great swathes of your life alone, where you no longer meet up with people in social settings and have happy experiences and memory and build happy memories together. You know, you think to yourself, well, those days are gone. And you start hearkening back to the old days, right? When it used to be fun. I used to have good times back then. And the truth is, the wider world kind of overlooks us middle 50s guys. We're not young enough to, you know, go into clubs and spend our available leisure time in the activities which are promoted for younger people. And we're not really in the retirement leisure category either. So we're kind of this invisible middle ground of people who often get overlooked in the social world. And without a conscious effort, it's very easy to fall into that mindset and spend increasingly longer and longer periods on your own, not interacting with others. And that can be a harsh reality for many men, loneliness and isolation. Another harsh reality I've found of achieving my mid-50s is really the reality that I'm not going to be here forever. Because when you're 25, you face life as if you're going to live forever. All right? You have no fears about the future. You're at the beginning of the journey. Everything looks rosy when you're facing a future which looks many, many decades ahead. When you're 55, right, you realize that the amount of time which lies ahead of you is actually far, far less than that's behind you. And it's not morbid to think like that, by the way. It's purely mathematics, and get a grip of it as soon as you can. Don't be a denier that the time which lies ahead of you is brief. I mean, in the UK here, we have a thing called the Office of National Statistics, a government body which gathers data, which the government and us citizens can use to help shape our decision-making in life. And there is a lifetime expectancy or life expectancy calculator on there, right? I went on there the other day and I discovered that with a fair wind behind me, my life expectancy will take me to 84 years of age. Now, I am currently 55. That means I've got less than 3 decades lying ahead of me taken as an average, right? Obviously, some people can live to be 100. Some people live to be 40. But that's an average. And when you realize that, it can be very sobering. Something which never entered your mindset when you were 25 at all. And this reality can make itself known in your life. You start looking at old photographs of yourself, for instance, and you realize how much younger and how much more vivacious you looked. You probably had more hair, less flesh around your body when you were younger. And it can really be sobering to realize the path that you've been on to get where you are today. You look at pictures of yourself when you're with your children, and they're tiny, and now they're standing a foot taller than you. They're adults. You might, at this age, even be grandparents yourself. And you are realizing that your place in the hierarchy of life is nudging ever closer to the bit that drops off the end as new ones start at the other side. And that can have quite alarming consequences for people. People can indeed be gripped with anxiety about what lies ahead, how much further they have to go. Or it can be a gift for you, a realization that you have to take control of things like your health, your social well-being, many other things which form the hygiene of your life. But it can be a harsh reality to finally accept that probably, right, the door to becoming an Olympic athlete or the frontman of the rock band that you always wanted to start, that door is slammed shut. You're never going to run a marathon faster than you did in your 30s. You are never going to have your best bench press anymore or better than the one you had in your 30s. The door's closed. But it's a gift as well. It's a realization that time is finite and we have to make the most of what lies ahead. Don't live in the past. Can't change that. But we have mastery over the future. And that is where our efforts should lie. Now, I think we've talked about the negatives, the harsh realities of being 55. There are some positives as well, and they deserve being reflected on because they are the things that bring that chink of light into our lives when we reach this age. And the one thing I would say, which I find very liberating as I have got older, is I know very much who I am at this stage of life. It is one of the luxuries of being 55 because I have an absolute, complete absence of identity anxiety at my age. I know who I am, right? I've been enough versions of my younger self to know that where I am right now is where I want to be. I've tried on enough suits of clothing at the different stages of my life, right? By this age, many of us will have been married a couple of times. We might have one or two families that we've embarked upon on this journey. We might have swapped between careers, or we're in the same one that we started when we were 20 and we're still banging away at it. Because we know at this stage that this is where we want to be and we are good at it. And that can be very liberating because it provides for us a quiet confidence. Now notice I said confidence, not arrogance. Arrogance is what you get when you're young and you're absolutely certain about something and you're inflexible in any other direction. When you're older and you've got experience behind you and you're not doing things because you're trying to make other people happy, that's where you can benefit from confidence. When we get to 50, in our 50s, 55 for me, I don't care what other people think about me. I have absolutely no concern what other people think that I've done with my life because I've done what I want to do with it. I'm not doing it for anybody else's approval other than my own, that's for sure. And I live myself now more authentically than I have at any other phase of my life. If I want to wear certain types of clothes, for instance, right? If I want to wear a tie on a Tuesday to walk around town, I will, because I want to look like that. But when I was 25 or 35, I wouldn't have done it because I perhaps wanted to fit in with the herd. I didn't want to stand apart from the crowd. But now, it doesn't bother me. I have the inner confidence. I'm not trying to make anybody else happy. I do things to make myself happy. And on that sort of general path, I also have no problem in saying no to people anymore. Whereas in the past, I felt a little bit compelled to make people happy. People came up to me and asked me to do something, maybe in work. If a boss ever opens a conversation by saying, I've got a great opportunity for you, what they mean is, I want to sell you something terrible and I'm trying to package it up as a positive thing for you. In the past, even though I didn't want to do it, I might have said, oh, well, go on then, I'll give it a try. Now it would be an absolute no thanks. I want none of that. I'm happy where I am. Or I don't see that in the same way that you do. I want to be where I am right now. Saying no without any fear of hurting other people's feelings, without any guilt, is a wonderful positive which comes when one gets older and you have the confidence of the years under your belt. Now, another positive which I have noticed as I have aged is that my experience is a very valuable currency as we go through life, because by 55, as I am, I have collected many stories. I have gathered a lot of wisdom as I have navigated the choppy waters of this life. As I said, I've collected a few successes, I've absorbed a few failures on this journey, and that means I've got a lot to offer other people, something that no 55, however well educated, whatever great background they have come from, they can't hold a candle to the experience which I have earned through decades of actually being there and actually doing it on this path to what I call Chap Nirvana. And I think when people encounter you, be it professionally, be it socially, they sense the knowledge and wisdom which we have accrued at this age, because they know we've got a great role to play as a mentor, as a problem solver, as a giver of advice to those who are younger than us. And we have the opportunity at this stage of life to influence the future more than at any point on the life journey so far, where we see people perhaps junior to us in our working lives, or maybe even senior to us. They've done better than we have, and they've got ahead of the game. Or, our children, or our nieces and our nephews, and we can see they're going down a certain path that we went down on our life journey, and it didn't pan out for whatever reason. We now have the opportunity to step in and say, in a subtle way, look, I've been there, I've done it, be careful of the pitfalls, I took this path, this worked out for me. I've seen other people doing the same as well, right? It's not just my experience, I have the experience of those which I have witnessed. I can help you out. I can offer you a solution to the problem that you have. And this can be a glorious realization in life, that you are now mentally more valuable than you have ever been before. And yet, right, at 55, we are still capable of doing something with it. We're not ready for the rocking chair by a long way, right? You've got, if you wanted, 20 at least more years of profitable endeavor in front of you. If you wanted to start a new business, if you wanted to open a non-profit organization to benefit the world around you, a charity, or whatever your particular event in life would be, at 55, you've got all that experience, but you've still got the opportunity to use it. It's not too late to make a massive difference in this world, and now is the vaulting horse to which you can go forward and do it. So don't think because you're 55, maybe you're drawing to the end of your career. Younger people are getting promoted over you now because they've got more ambition, more future life in your career path than you have ahead. The times for you are not behind you. There is still great things ahead because you have the knowledge and the wisdom to impart to others. And the last thing I would say to you is something which I've embraced as I've got older, and that is, I live more intentionally now than I ever did before. Because when I was younger, I was there, I worked in big hierarchical organizations, and life felt like a treadmill. You go to work, you pay the bills, you do what you have to do every day, all the time. And it felt like you're on a never-ending loop of this massive treadmill going around and around. And it starts from the beginning, doesn't it? You go to school. You go to college, you get an education, you find a job, you work your way up that greasy pole, you maybe get married, you maybe have children, and then you're into the domestic situation of paying the bills, being trapped in a job, never having the opportunity perhaps to spread your wings and do the things which you thought you would do when you were younger. Well, let me tell you, when you get a bit older, when you get to my age, you will find that you've probably got financial stability, if you're fortunate. if you've made stable financial decision making when you were younger, you no longer perhaps have to run so fast on the treadmill. You can slow it down. You can take time to look around and enjoy the life as it's unfolding around you. Your kids have probably grown up by now, so you're not looking after them all of the time. They're looking out for themselves. They're likely adults by now, and whilst you still hopefully have a good connection with your kids, they're not utterly dependent upon you. So you have more time to enjoy life and to do the things, as I call it, living intentionally, that you couldn't do when you were younger. You can start a new hobby. My wife just started playing golf. I do lots of things. I've just joined a livery guild in London where I can invest more of my time. If your passion that you never was able to indulge in earlier is travel, because you couldn't afford it, or you had loads of kids, so it was financially inviable to go where you wanted to go, now you can look at the world as an atlas to be explored, not something that other people do with their lives, because you can slow that treadmill and you can enjoy life. And at 55, you're still young enough to enjoy it as well. You know, it's still plenty of time to make the most out of this life. So let's bring this to a conclusion. I think being 55, yeah, it's not about clinging to youth. It's also not about resigning yourself to a slow, steady decline either towards the future. It is really about accepting the truth of where we are in age right now and realizing that there's still a lot more ahead of us. Yes, we've got aches and pains that we didn't have years ago, and we've suffered losses, we've suffered grief, we've suffered crushing disappointment, but that is strength, right, as we go forward. And there's no better time in life to look ahead and realize I can still do good things, because we now have an understanding that time is finite. It's not going to last forever. In fact, it's not going to last all that much longer. You know, if you're me, I'm looking at 29 years of livable life still ahead of me, and I'm going to make every one of those bloody years count. Let me tell you that. I'm not going to waste any. I'm not going to let any slip by. I've done that in the past. I've wasted years in the past where I was on the treadmill, but now every year is more precious than the one which has just passed. And that's the way you've got to look at it. So yes, there are harsh realities to being 55, but there's also a lot of positivity as well. So don't reflect too heavily on the downsides without balancing it with the upsides. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to like it and subscribe for more. If you want to hear more of my ramblings on my journey, you can become one of my patrons. The link is in the description box below, and you get extra videos each week from me along these lines. I hope you join me on the trip. Until the next time we meet, take care, and I'll see you soon.